again, and welcome to another edition of In Conversation. And I'm absolutely over the moon to be introducing the Sky presenter, broadcaster, touchline reporter, whatever title you want to give her. Jenna Brooks is with us on this occasion. Jenna, good afternoon to you.
Dave, good afternoon to you as well. It's an absolute pleasure and honour to be joining you on this wonderful podcast.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to it. So we're going to settle you in nice and easy, the Super League Raw style. Who's your favourite band, Jenna?
Favourite band?
Yeah.
I would say, I'm old school. So I grew up with my mum always playing music in the house. She loves the Rolling Stones. So I do like the Rolling Stones. Love the Eagles as well. So let's for my mum, we'll go with the Rolling Stones.
Super. Favorite song?
So that has to be. I've got so many. I think the one that I play, "Simply the Best" by Tina Turner. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Listening to it on my way to games in the car, singing. Rocking out to it. It's probably my fave.
Well, there's a lovely link to rugby league there, isn't there? Your favourite film?
I don't know. Favourite film? It would probably have to be. I love Love Actually. Love Notting Hill. I love a bit of a rom-com. I love them.
Fair enough. Right, then, here we go. If a film was made of Jenna Brooks's life, who will be playing the lead title?
Absolutely no idea, because that would never happen.
But if it did, who would it be?
I don't know. You tell me. I've got no idea. I'd hope somebody relatively young and intelligent, Dave. Someone who's a very good actress. Put it that way.
But you're not going to pick one?
No, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Someone with long blonde hair.
Jennifer Lawrence there. That'll do. That one comes there. That'll do. She's got blonde hair. Right, on the barbie, shrimps or burgers on the barbie as you're Australian?
Shrimps.
A nice shrimp on the barbie.
Yep.
Kylie Minogue or Olivia Newton-John?
Oh, probably Olivia Newton-John. Love
Icon.
Grease.
Icon. What 3 words best describe Jenna Brooks?
Competitive. I would say determined and fun.
Yeah, that.
Right at the good question as well.
Right at the good question, yeah. But sorry, we can pick up. I can edit it. It's not a problem. So we'll pick up where we left off. You good? You good? You good? Right. So you've described yourself. We're now going to describe some of your colleagues. So in one word only, Barry McDermott.
A lot of trouble for this, Dave. This isn't fair.
Perfectly fine. One word.
Strong.
Could have said cuddly, but we'll go strong. Brian Carney.
Sorry, I missed you. Go again.
Brian Carney.
Intelligent.
Jodie Cunningham, new to the crew.
Amazing.
Kyle Amor, new to the crew.
I would say Kyle. Fun.
Terry O'Connor.
Can I say here? I'd say he's cuddly.
Ah, bless him. John Wilkin, we've got to go there.
Where do we start? Only one word.
One word, yeah. I think people are judging you on this word more than you're judging John. Go on.
Yeah, I have to be careful here. Who do I want to keep on side, the fans or him? John Wilkin. How would I just? I'm actually going to go with hilarious.
Hilarious. Sam Tompkins.
Awesome.
Yes. And on that topic, you did a lot of work with Sam at the back end of last year for his retirement. And you seem to really enjoy that.
I did. We get on so well. He is, first and foremost, he's a friend. Like, we've become really good friends. Absolutely love his wife, Charlotte. I've been able to go out to Perpignan a few times now to cover the games, particularly since Catalan have been doing so well, and Sky tend to send out for like the semis and the playoffs. So we have formed a really strong relationship. And then on a work front, I love the way he analyzes games. I love the way he sees games through his eyes as a fullback. Like, he can read play, and the way he explains it as well, phenomenal. But being able to sit down with him and do that documentary. We'll call it it was more of a sit down interview. It wasn't a documentary. His documentary that is out now, Last Chance, is amazing. I don't know where you can see it yet. I think they're in the process of finalizing a deal, but if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend watching it. It's fantastic. So hats off to Joe Gardner, who actually produced that. But Sam, what an incredible career he's had, and I feel really lucky that I was able to witness the back end of it and cover him as a player and get to know him and now work alongside him. I feel very lucky.
Yeah, incredibly knowledgeable. I've met him a couple of times as well. And, it's a shame that the script didn't end as it should have done, but he'll always be remembered for that semi-final try. It was just incredible.
I mean, I just say to him, can we not just end it here? Like, can that not, like, let's forget about the grand final. Who needs another grand final ring? You've already got a couple. So let's just end it at that semi-final, because what a moment that was. And I did let my emotions get the better of me. Like, I'd spent a decent amount of time with him and his family and his children, and I just knew what it meant to him to end his career back at Old Trafford. And when it ended the way it ended, with him, with that try, his best mate Mickey Mack, passing him, like, it couldn't have been better. And of course, you've got James Roby at the other end, and had it happened for St Helens, I would have been just so happy for James and for the way that it would have ended for him. But it was Sam, and it was an incredible play, and it was an incredible moment, one I'll never forget.
Iconic. It'll go down in it. I mean, we see the Mountain of Fire try time and time again at Wembley. That we'll see the Tompkins try time and time again as well.
And he says this in the interview. He did it with one leg. Like, his knee was that bad at that point. His body was just giving up.
Adrenaline, wasn't it?
Yeah, and desire. Yeah. That desire to win. He's one of the most competitive people I've ever met. And his desire and will to win is just, it should be applauded.
Yeah, you're very lucky, because obviously you surround yourself with what I consider to be the greatest athletes on the planet, bar none. They're that good. Right, we'll come back to rugby in a minute. Current TV box set, what you enjoy watching, if you have the time to watch a box set, go on.
We've got every game live on Sky now. Like, I'm flat out watching all 6 games of Super League. I don't have time. In the off season, I do like to watch a bit of telly, but what did I watch? Nicole Kidman was in what was it called? It was based in Hong Kong, right, and the name of it has escaped me, but I'm pretty sure it was on Sky or maybe Netflix. What was it called now? But it was very good. It was about her son who goes missing and that journey. But I'd recommend it. Very good. Nicole Kidman.
On Netflix, is it?
I think so. Netflix. Yeah. It could have been on demand on Sky. I can't remember. It's too many.
So there you go. Another seal and another Australian. You're very patriotic. There's no doubt about that. Right. Who has been your rugby league hero?
I've got a few, if I'm honest. I'd say Wayne Bennett, because I'm a St George Illawarra supporter and always have been. And he, of course, led us to that remarkable grand final win in 2010. And that was amazing. I just remember what it meant to my dad as well. I'll never forget watching that game with him. And so I would definitely say Wayne Bennett. But then I also grew up loving watching like Joey Johns play, and I had a crush on Nathan Brown. I think he was probably my first crush, which is quite awkward as well, given his involvement with Super League, and potentially he might return. Who knows?
Yes,
so I probably shouldn't publicly say that. But so I've got a few.
Well, if he does return, because Hull, you mentioned that on the verdict earlier. If he was to return, this little snippet of this show I'll send to him just to welcome him.
Oh
back.
no, I thought you were going to say delete it. I'm like, delete it, Dave. No, don't. No.
Happy days. Right, who's your favourite person to interview, or has been your favourite person to interview?
I really enjoyed sitting down with Sam Burgess at the start of the season.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
That was cool because he hadn't really spoken a lot about his journey into coaching, and obviously it's a very conflicted journey. It's, his career didn't end the way he wanted it to end, and he hadn't done a lot of media up until that point, so I really enjoyed interviewing him. I quite like interviewing him post-match, pre-match as well. In terms of players, who's I'm trying to think of. I loved interviewing Jake Memo. I mean, that was a quirky one. He was always, and I never knew what I'd get.
Tom Lynham as well, I'd have thought.
Yeah, Tom Lynham. I haven't done a lot of Tom Lynham. Toby King is another funny one. Yeah. So there's loads. There's so many amazing characters in this game, and I feel like we don't really get to see or get to know them because there's just not enough coverage out there. But with the verdict you've mentioned on Sky Sports News, and I've got a podcast as well with John Wilkin, which we try and get down and like drill through the player or the coach and get to know the person like you do on this.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think, I just think it would be great to get to know more players and for fans as well. And I think IMG are trying to, incorporate that into their way of thinking anyway.
I'm playing a small part. I'm doing my best, mate. I'm doing my best. I really am. But no, who's been your least favourite to interview? I can remember a couple of your interviews that went a little bit awry, maybe.
Which ones?
Oh no, that's for you to tell me. I'm not mentioning names. You're the interviewee this time. You're on the other side. Go on.
I don't like it. I don't like having to answer questions. I'm very, very much more comfortable asking them. Someone who I don't like asking questions to, it's hard. I mean, I think what people don't necessarily take into account a lot with my job is I get the player, I get the coach immediately after a win or a defeat, right? So their emotions are either really high or really low, particularly in the big games, like the grand finals, the playoffs, the knockout games. So it's always really hard when there's a coach that's under pressure. You've got to ask the questions that the fans want answers to, and sometimes it's really awkward for me as well because I work with excuse me, I work with these clubs on a day-to-day basis, and you don't want to upset anyone, but at the same time you got to do your job. So there's coaches, there's players who might feel less comfortable in front of the camera, less comfortable answering difficult questions. I'm trying to think, like I have a few at the minute who are challenging, but I won't do it. I'm not going to say their names, but what I will do, I'm trying to think of somebody who like in the past who has since left the game, who I found awkward. I don't know, Dave. I don't know. I've got a very memorable interview, which didn't go at all how I thought it would go. And that was when I was waiting for one Lee Radford to come out at Hull FC to do his post-match interview. That was just before COVID. That was in 2020.
The Warrington game.
Yeah, they lost heavily to Warrington, and Adam Pearson instead came out. And I'd only just started this job. So I think a couple of weeks before we went into lockdown, I'd found out that I had gotten this job full time. So previously in 2019, I covered Angela Powers was still doing the touchline stuff, and she kind of was in and out, making her transition into her new career. So I was covering a lot for her. And so I had only just been given that job, and it was when Adam Pearson came out, and it was like, what's going on here? And, why are you here? Why isn't your coach? And then he, of course, broke the news that they had decided to part company. So Lee Radford, I don't know whether you want to say sacked, whether you want to say it was by mutual consent. I'm not sure. Well, I am sure, but at the time I wasn't. But anyway, so that was a very memorable interview, and it was challenging for me too, because, you know, it's live and it is huge news. Like, this doesn't happen in rugby league. Like, it doesn't happen in sport. I can't recall it happening before then. So it was a really important test for me and an important interview to kind of showcase that I could handle this job, and it was, you know, they'd given it to the right person. So that was definitely my most probably not challenging, but most exciting and most memorable interview that I've done.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say I thought that was one of the most disgraceful acts that I've seen in recent rugby league history. I just thought it was completely uncalled for to do it in that way. Put you in a position, wasn't great. You wouldn't see a club like Wigan behaving like that. You know, I'm a Warrington fan, but you know, Wigan have got far too much class to do that type of thing straight after a game. It was disappointing. But anyway, we move on. Right, you might upset people, you might not here, but just be honest. What's your favourite ground? What's your favourite ground to visit?
So I've got a few for different reasons. So of course, Headingley. I love Headingley. Yeah. It's like, you know, one of the most beautiful stadiums I've ever worked in, full stop. The facilities are phenomenal. The atmosphere is great. I love Hull KR's atmosphere. I love what they've done with Craven Street. Cass is always fun. Like, I'm not going to sit here and like list all 12, but
well, you're doing a good job thus far, carry on.
I also, you know, I like the Halliwell Jones. That's fun. I think it's the closest stadium to my house, so that's always convenient. When I say, I mean, it's only by like 20 miles or whatever it is, but yeah. So I like all of them.
Sound. Yeah, I mean, and actually, I've seen you at the Halliwell. Obviously, we've met the Halliwell Jones. And do you find it, because obviously you're a journalist, and journalists, they don't really class journalists as a celebrity. It's a job. But I've seen you on the sidelines at the HJ, and when fans come, especially the kids come and they want the photograph with you, that must be really nice for you.
Oh, it's lovely. And it's something that I don't think you can ever really get used to either. It's so weird. I'm like, the weirdest was when they come up and they want me to sign like a shirt or jersey.
Yeah.
No, I'll ruin it. Like, don't get my scribble on it. Go get the players, go get the coaches. You don't want mine.
Yeah.
But it's very, it's humbling. Like, it's a lovely thing. And I think, I didn't think too much of it initially. And then when my mum was over, when I had the baby this time last year, she would come to games with the baby and she'd see it. And she was like, this is so weird, Jenna. Like, what's going on? But yeah, no, it's lovely. And as I said, it's something that I just don't think you ever really get used to. People wanting your time and wanting a picture with you.
That's nice, but that's the rugby league family, isn't it? That's what it is. That you're a part of a rugby league family, and when you go to sportsmen's dinners, or I mean, even after games. I mean, Catalan at Warrington, fair play to the Catalan players. They walk around the side. They're away from home and they walk around the sides. They have the photos talk. You don't get this in any other sport. For me, it's just it's a wonderful sport to be a part of, isn't it? Right. Yeah. Before we get into you, and like I say, you're a very hard person to research. You do a really good job of being covert online. I'll give you your due on that one. I don't even know how many kids you've got. How many kids have you got? Is it 1, 2?
I've got 2 children.
Got 2. Bless you. Obviously, we don't do names like that. But boys, girls.
2 boys.
2 boys, fantastic. Well, my mum had 2 boys, and one thing about boys is they love the mums. There's no doubt about that. So you'll be all right there.
Long may that continue.
I'm sure. Dinner party guests. You can invite 3 dinner party guests, alive or dead. Who would you invite and why?
Oh, this is a hard one. Well, let's start with Tina Turner. Yeah. So she could sing Simply the Best to me.
Bit of Proud Mary as well, just to get the party.
Yeah, off. Love Proud Mary. Yeah. Who else? Maybe someone like Steve Jobs.
Right. Okay.
Just to chat to him and like kind of, I'd love to get to know him and his mind. He had such an amazing mind and he's so inspirational. So I probably take my little quote book out and just be jotting down like inspirational quotes from him. Yeah. Third one. I don't know. Who would I have? Maybe Wayne Bennett. I know it's cliche and blah, But I have never met him. I'd love to interview him, and people would be like, are you joking? He would be the hardest person I would have ever, you know, I've seen him with journos, and he doesn't like the media. He doesn't really tolerate them. So I would love to have him and just get his, just have a chat to him off camera. And so no pressure, and just, maybe have him take me back to 2010.
Yeah, I can imagine he's a journalist nightmare, but he's great TV, incredible career. And now, of course, because you're based in the UK, you might not have to do this because you probably have friends in high places. But watch NRL as an app is brilliant, absolutely brilliant value. I've got
outstanding.
It's amazing, isn't it? Watch you talk about all 6 Super League games. The NRL on top of that, it's marvelous. Right, okay, let's get into you a little bit if you don't mind. So, young girl, of course, growing up in Australia. What was your introduction? You mentioned your dad there. So have you always been, because this is the things that the fans don't know about Jenna Brooks, you know, and you can't find it online. So that's great for me because I can ask you. It's great stuff. You know, what was your early relationship with rugby league through your dad, I presume?
Yeah, so my dad and my grandfather, so they both played. So my grandfather played like reserve grade for St. George, many years ago. And then my dad always played. He was never professional, but he loved it. And my dad, so I've got an older sister, and when I came along, I think my dad was desperate to have a boy, and I was obviously not. So I was a bit of a tomboy. I am a tomboy girl. Like, I love sport. I love all sports. I love sitting, you know, on the couch and just watching sport. My husband will come home and he'll be like, oh God, do we have to watch this? Can we watch something else? I'm like, no, we're watching this. And he loves sport as well. But yeah, so it would have been my dad, like, just introducing me to St. George and going to games with him over the years. And then I was really sporty myself, and I never played like full contact, but I did play a representative OzTag and touch, and loved it. I loved it. I ran a little bit as well. So yeah, I think I've always loved sport, and I always wanted to be, if I'm brutally honest with you, I was never good enough, but I wanted to run for Australia or swim for Australia, and I just was never good enough and never made it. So then it's that old cliche, well, let's do the next best thing and let's cover sport for a living, and that's what I'm able to do.
Yeah, I read that your ambition was to be a part of the Olympic team, which again, not many people had known.
Close. I mean, I was
but
it was a pipe dream,
but that's where you wanted to go. You were sporty and you wanted to go down that route, which is interesting. So obviously we've got young and old that watch Super League Raw. So you got into journalism, you know, and when I think when we've been liaising as well, you said that you were a determined person. What people through how you got you've managed to get your breaks in journalism, because you've been quite tenacious, haven't you, in certain areas of your life?
And I'll tell you, to make it in this industry, you've got to be so tenacious. You've got to be able to handle rejection, and just have that competitive drive. My career is a funny one because I feel like I've almost had to start it 3 times. So I graduated from uni, and I graduated on like the Friday, and I was in the following, I think it was like the Wednesday, I had gotten a full-time job working at Channel 9 on the front desk at the Wide World of Sports.
Yeah.
So I was like a production secretary, so meet and greet the talent, you know, respond to emails, just do all that kind of admin stuff. But I was in and around sport. I was in and around, like, Warnie would walk in, you know, Richie Beno would come in. We had, you know, NRL players coming out of our armpits. Like, there was just always an amazing face coming and going. So that was fantastic. And then I became very good friends with a senior reporter there, who was a senior reporter, Wide World of Sports, who I believe last time I was in touch with him, he's now at Fox Sports News as a reporter, presenter, and his name was Tim Sheridan, and he took me under his wing, as did Andrew Voss, our beloved Vossie, voice of rugby league down under. So they both kind of took me under their wing, and Tim Sheridan in particular would take me out on shoots with him, and I'd shadow him, and he'd have me do my own practice interviews, practice pieces to camera, practice presenting, practice was like all he would preach, just practice. And then whenever you got given an opportunity, whether you believed you could do it or not, just say yes and figure out how the hell you're going to get it done afterwards. So from that show reel that I put together, I got a meeting with Fox Sports News, and I went in there and sat down with the head at the time, and they gave me a freelance. The role was called active reporter. So that was basically doing a lot of the writing for the graphics, like the ticker that ran it across. Then there was like the online kind of magazine type thing that I was writing for. And then from there, I started to voice packages, write packages, produce bulletins, go out on the road and do reporting, get on that desk and present, which was always what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then my husband now, who was my boyfriend at the time, got transferred to San Francisco.
Yeah.
We'd been together a long time at that point, and he was like, come with me. And I had just kind of started a new job at SBS, which is like a free-to-air channel. They cover all like the football. It's like the home of football in Australia. Well, it used to be anyway. And so I got the job as a female, obviously female. I think I was the only female sports reporter at SBS. Anyway, so I was there for 6 months. We did 6 months apart. And then once that contract kind of came to an end, I thought, you know what, I'm going to move to America. I'll go for a year and I'll try and soak up all the experience and I'll get a job. It'll be fine. Like, I've got some experience now. I've got some on-camera work. Let's just go. So I went, and it was hell. They did not want an Australian reporting on an American sport. I was in the Bay Area. All they cared about were the big four. And they were like, why would we give an Aussie a job to report on the, 49ers or the Giants when we can have an American voice on it? So I had to push really hard, and eventually I was able to so we had Andrew Bogut, who was playing for the Golden State Warriors at the time. He's an Aussie legend, basketballer. We had Grant Balfour and Travis Blackley, who were playing at the Raiders. Was it the Raiders? No, it wasn't. The Oakland, what's the Oakland baseball team? Can't remember now. But anyway, so it was over the bridge in Oakland. So I started to come up with all these ideas about how I can kind of get my little Aussie voice on these stories. And because they were Australian athletes, I was able to kind of sell it to them that way. The Oakland anyway, so I put together some story ideas, and from that they were like, yep, let's get you on as a freelance reporter. So I started doing some bits there. And then next thing, my husband's like, oh, I've been transferred to London. And initially I was like, oh, for goodness sake, I've just made it. I've just started to get my foot back in the door here, and I'm starting to make waves, and this is what I want to do. But then I'm like, you know what? All the sports that I love, that I grew up watching, cricket, rugby league, I can get in at Sky, because at the time there was a bit of an affiliation with Fox, where I had previously worked. So I thought, yeah, let's do it. So we ended up moving to London. So mind you, I went to San Francisco for 1 year. That was in 2010. I'm now San Francisco, spent some time in New York and London, and we're in 2024 now. So my mom's like, this is the longest year of my life. But anyway, so my old boss at Fox put me in touch with the boss at Sky Sports News, and I went in there and kind of sold myself and started to get in working at Sky Sports News again, doing mainly like producing sub-editing shifts. And then from there started to do a bit more reporting. And then Neville Smith, who was the boss of rugby league at Sky at the time, I used to just knock on his door constantly, be like, give me a job, knock, 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 give me a job, knock, knock, I want to do rugby league. This is my sport. I love it. I grew up watching it. It's in my blood. This is all I want to do. And eventually, again, I created a role doing the news wrap. It was on a Thursday before the Thursday night game, and it was done from the London studios, and I'd produce it all myself, edit it. No one had to do anything. I'd present it, be there at the touch screen, kind of give the viewers the big kind of headlines in 1:30, and that was me. And I kind of got my way into the rugby league team doing that. And then the timing just... I just had to wait it out, and I had to just stay motivated and determined and tenacious, as you said, and just keep going until an opportunity came up, and that was in 2020 for COVID.
Fair play to you. Like you say, you've had to graft, which is to your credit. I mean, the NRL is the premier rugby league competition. There's no question about that. It is. From a journalist perspective, is that an ambition of yours to go back at some point to Australia and become a part of the journalist team over in Australia? Is that something that you want to do? Or are you now, like Kylie Minogue, see yourself very much in London?
Kylie, is she an actress? Maybe she could have played me. I don't know.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, she did actually. She's done a couple of roles, hasn't she, in her career?
Name it.
Yeah.
There you go. I get asked this a lot, and it's a funny one. Yeah, you're right. The NRL is in rugby league. It is seen and perceived as, the greatest competition. So yeah, but I have also done that. Like, I was covering the NRL when I was working at Fox, when I was at SBS. Like, I did cover it. I'm like, I came through Fox with Lara Pitt, who's one of the faces of it, Yvonne Sampson, Jessica Yates, like all those girls. Erin Molan, I used to do stuff with for the Sunday Footy Show. Like, they're all distant friends, colleagues. I don't know what you want to call them. I don't speak to them on a regular basis, but yeah, I certainly know them all. I don't know, if an opportunity came up, then yeah, I'd definitely consider it. But my life is here now. Like, my newborn, who's not so much a newborn anymore, he is almost 1, but he's got a British passport. Like, we're going for our dual citizenship. Like, this is home and we love living here. I love the Super League. I love working for Sky. I think that, if opportunities come out, like, I've been doing some more work for Sky Sports News recently. I'm going to be doing some stuff for cricket this year. Like, I think Sky has not necessarily comparing NRL to the Super League audience figures. Of course, the NRL's bigger, but Sky is massive. And to work for a company like Sky Sports, then I just feel like it would be very hard to turn my back on that. The job would have to be very, very good. Like, it would have to be, being the face of the NRL and like presenting the state of origin, which I think James Bracey does a very good job at that. But yeah, I don't know. Like, if the opportunity came up, you'd have to ask me, later.
Well, you've been very honest, and that's all we can ask, which is great. I mean, again, from the outside looking in, you'll know this, and I spoke to Barry Mack about this. Sky, from a rugby league perspective, has come in for some big pelters within the rugby league community in terms of coverage over the years. We've just got to go there. But this year, for whatever reason, IMG, new team, whatever it may be, there seems to have been a big refresh this year in the way it's presented, the new graphics, just everything about it just feels different. And I think the new people have brought that, maybe brought a new vibe. It's like everything, isn't it? If you bring new people in, they bring something, don't they? It creates something. And from your perspective, walk us through that. What do you feel that as a presenter this year, that maybe the bar's gone up? Because it feels that way from a watcher's perspective.
It's a funny one. I feel like viewers are very harsh on Sky. And I'm a little bit biased because I work for the company. It's my job. I make sacrifices, not just me, the entire team. We're like a family. The entire team make these huge sacrifices, and we all adore this sport. Like, we live and breathe rugby league. We want the best for Super League. And I think wrongly, most of the time, we wrongly get blamed for things that happen. And it's not anything to do with the talent. It's not anything to even do with Sky. At times, it's a bigger thing at play. I do think that there was a really positive feel ahead of this season. I think every game live on Sky, but people were starting to see that Sky, we're on the same team. Like, we want this game to grow. We want more eyeballs on this sport. We want the best for Super League. And yeah, it's hard. I get really frustrated when I see these negative comments, particularly when it's directed at specific people. It upsets me. Like, social media and that kind of criticism, I hate it. Everyone hates it. It's a nightmare.
They do.
And I get protective of the people that I work with as well, because I know how much they put into it, how much effort they put in, and how much they love the sport. And it's just it's not nice to see. And again, Sky, we are on the same team. Like, Sky want the best for the game in this country, and we're trying our hardest.
To be fair, like I say, I think the big positive is it's a massive improvement. And whether that's conscious or not, it feels different. I think the problem with rugby league fans in this, and I said this actually, funny enough, on my weekly podcast last night. We as the supporters need to understand that we play a massive role here in getting our sport to be elevated to where it deserves to be, and that is going through turnstiles, and it's also viewing figures, because what we need to prove to Sky, because of course Sky money is what it's all about. We need to grow the sport where Sky see it as a bigger asset in terms of money, that then we can maybe expand it like they do in the NRL to 14 teams, etc. So we as the fans, as much as anyone, really do hold the future of the game and the expansion of the game through turnstiles and viewing figures. That is the way of the world now. I agree with you about social media as well. I mean, social media, there's always a keyboard warrior on there. We don't talk about them, but we've got to be positive, haven't we? As a rugby league family, I think there's a lot of people out there that want to talk it down. We've got to talk it up. All of us have got to talk it up.
I don't understand why. Like, why are people like that in this country? Like, I mean, the NRL is our number one sport in Australia. Like, everyone loves it. Everyone lives and breathes it. I was home at Christmas and I just loved, wherever you are, everyone's talking rugby league. And it was in the off season. Like, there was no games being played. Like, it was so like, I loved it. I just enjoyed that it is so big there, and I just don't understand. I mean, I obviously know the history and all of that behind it, but I just don't understand why people don't love the game. Like, I say, all you need is to watch one of rugby league and you're hooked for life.
100%. We're going to go again. So yeah, I completely agree with your last comment in terms of we've got to start seeing the sport for what it is as fans, and do our bit and not talk it down. And that's what I'm proud about in terms of what I'm doing now in terms of the Super League Raw bit, because it's a really positive community that we're building. I mean, I make sure that I manage it in terms of who I let into it and who I don't. I don't want people that are just clickbaiters. I want people that are have rugby league at the heart, and it's a really good community that we're building in that respect. So, I mean, for me, it's the greatest game on earth, and together, all of us, we've got to put it on that platform that it deserves, without doubt. Something that I know also is pretty close to your heart, and it starts this week, I believe, it's about to start, is the Women's Super League, and the growth of the women's game in this country. And it's still pretty, I mean, well, it was York, Saints and Leeds. Wigan now are starting to move.
Under Dennis Betts, I cannot wait.
Yeah, they're starting to
amazing
move.
Young players coming up there. There's so much to look forward to, and with players, St Helens are obviously the latest club to start paying their players a match fee. It's certainly headed in the right direction. Look, there's a long way to go. It's not professional. It's not near being professional, I don't believe. But we're certainly in the right direction, and to have wonderful ambassadors like Jodie Cunningham, who we mentioned earlier, Courtney Winfield Gill. It's definitely headed in the right place, and it is getting far more competitive too.
Yeah, you've seen that year on year, aren't you? And again, the amount of young girls now that are playing the game, that's rising as a consequence of being able to see people that they relate to, and that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I love as well seeing young girls at games. You mentioned like fans coming up for photos and autographs and all of that. I love it when it's young girls, and there's more and more. And the Sinead Peaches of the world and the Amy Hardcastles. These women are strong. They're tough. They're representing the game perfectly. And it warms my heart when I see young girls wanting to get involved and wanting to play. And as well, like, parents need to jump on board too. Parents need to kind of guide the children into playing, like, not just girls either, but young boys as well. Like, you need to guide, like, as a parent myself, like, obviously there's fears with concussion and all of that, but that seems to be getting, more and more under control as time goes on. And yeah, it's just, I think that's where it starts. Like we talk about needing more eyeballs on the game and all of that. We need more people playing too. We need it at schools. We need, and not just up north, down here as well. I'm trying really hard to get my son, my eldest, into playing rugby, and it's all rugby tots. It's like rugby union. I don't want him, necessarily focusing on union. Like I want him to have that rugby league, that like possibility to play rugby league, and down south it's just it's hard to find.
Yeah, there's just little pockets, isn't there, down south, as opposed to the M62 corridor. One of my guest presenters, one of my mate who do Super League role, where both of his girls play rugby league. One of them is actually number 5 now for Warrington Wolves, Rebecca Nixon. She's a name to keep an eye out for. So one of our presenters.
Unreal.
She plays number 5 for Warrington Wolves. She got her first shirt this year. And have you had a chance to go to the Nines? Because I went to that for the first time last year, and I thought it was brilliantly done.
In Victoria Park, yeah.
Vicky Park, and then obviously the Salford Community for the finals.
Yeah,
really good.
I was there at Victoria Park. I think it was last year.
It was.
Yeah, it was last year. It was unreal, and again, so many young girls getting involved. So many, just so many faces, they're famous faces for girls to be able to just pull aside and chat. Like Caitlin Beavers, I remember watching her walk across and little girls calling her over, and she just happily goes over and chats to them. And for them to see these women play up close and personal, it's unreal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one of the ideas I've got for it at you, I mean, we're always talking, how do we grow the women's game? And we're big advocates, myself and Greg, who's the dad of Rebecca. We're big advocates of the women's games being the curtain raisers for the men's game. I know the women's game wants to stand alone, but to get the interest and to get people watching it and to get it moving, we see the odd couple of double headers, don't we? I think there's going to be one coming up at Leeds, I think, in the next few weeks. But
so the season starts this weekend. We're not sadly we're not showing this game live on Sky. I think it's Leeds. It's Leeds Huddersfield, isn't it?
Huddersfield, yeah.
But we'll be showing a few of the double headers, as you said, coming up. But I do agree with you. I know that there's this desire to have the women's game be its own brand, because it isn't like the men's. We're not trying, like the NRLW down under is by far closer to the men's game. Okay, we're still that little bit away, but I think people that love rugby league are going to love watching the women play too. So you're right. I think you showcase it alongside a men's game, like the Challenge Cup final at Wembley. Like that was unreal. Me and John Wilkin are constantly trying to talk about getting Old Trafford to do a doubleheader. Now I know that there's loads of different reasons why that can't happen. There's the pitch issue, and I don't know, there's a lot of Manchester United stuff, I think, behind that as to why that may not happen immediately. But I just think you're right. I think that to see the game alongside the men's, people watching know they're not going to see the same, it's not going to be like the men's playing, it's women playing. But it's just such a great stepping stone for the girls, and also for women to play in such amazing stadiums and amazing crowds. It's only going to want, again, young girls to pick up a rugby ball, put their boots on and play, because that they can see where they can end up. Whereas if they're playing, with all due respect to Victoria Park, and I just think to be able to see them play in these stadiums, it's unreal. Yeah. And girls are going to end up choosing to play rugby league, instead of rugby union, because at the minute they see rugby union, that's professional, like that's women are getting paid for that. Well, slowly we're getting there.
Yeah. No, we've just got to keep driving forward. And like I said, the emergence of Wigan has been really positive. Obviously, I think for the last 3 or 4 years, it's been very York, Saints, Leeds. But Wigan, you can see the improvement in Wigan. The rest have still got a bit of a way to go. But it's good to see that they are being invested in. There is more focus on it from the clubs, and we're getting somewhere, isn't it? It's going to get there eventually, and it's going to be great for the young girls to have these heroes to look up to, which will be great. Just going back to something that we were talking about, because we lost the chat. I lost my train of thought when I have Barry here. There's a massive frustration. We talked about Sky. There's a bit of a frustration in the fact that the scores are given during the live games when the other two are being shown on other channels. And again, in for me, I think Sky would have bigger viewing figures if actually they didn't tell you the score, because I think because we're getting this through our Super League Raw. A lot of people, if they know that the other game's a blowout, they're not watching it. But if they don't know the score of it, they're saying, if I didn't know the score, I probably would have watched it. So we're hoping and praying at some point Sky will not give the scores to the other games.
I see both sides, I do, but then you just pick up your phone though, and you go on social media and you're going to see it anyway. And I think for us, like we're trying to almost give off a bit of a Soccer Saturday feel, and keep everyone up to date across it all. Like if you see, you know, that it's close at another game, then you can switch over. Like you can kind of, you know, dip in and dip out and get the best of both worlds. I totally understand what you're saying. And I don't have the answer. I don't know what's right. I think, you know, 50%, maybe a little bit more want no scores. The other want to have an update. I liked it. Like I'm someone who sits there, if I happen to be, you know, on a weekend, if I'm not at the OB and I'm at home and there's a couple going on at the same time. I mean, let's just solve the issue and not have them on at the same time. Like let's have them all.
Better.
So that's something that I think we'll look at doing hopefully down the track. But yeah, I'm someone who I just like to know everything that's going on immediately. Otherwise, someone's going to message you, or you're gonna find out anyway. So I think Sky's stance is that they want to be the first one. They want to provide all the information to our viewers as and when.
Well, in the same ferocity that you knocked on that door to get the Sky Rugby League job, with the same ferocity, tell them to do the NRL style. Don't have games on at the same time. Let's have them in a nice little conveyor belt, and we don't have to have this conversation. I think we'd all be delighted with that as well. Outstanding. We'll start to wrap things up slowly but surely. But last season, I can't remember a better season in many a year than 2023. We didn't know who was getting relegated until the back end. The playoffs was up for grabs right until the end. The Super League trophy was somewhere on the East Lancs because we had Catalan, Saints and Wigan who could have lifted it on the last game. And then we had the drama of the playoffs and everything that went with it. We had the Challenge Cup, Golden Points and all that. It was a phenomenal season. From your perspective, does that rank up there in terms of the ones that you've been involved in last year for that reason?
Yeah, definitely. I don't remember a closer fought season. I was in a tipping comp. I've been in tipping comps pretty much for since I've been involved in Super League. And I was so bad last year because you just didn't know. Like, I mean, everyone was bad. But you go into a game and you had literally no idea who was going to come away with the win.
Yeah.
And it just made it so exciting, and there was so much on the line. And I just hope that we get that again this year. I know that we're approaching round 8. But I just like it is exciting. You know, you've got Salford, who everyone thought would be down towards the bottom. They're in 7th. They're winning games that no one thought that they'd win. You've got St Helens, who are, you know, obviously always up there. Catalan, I think, Warrington are doing so well. It's obviously Wigan, Hull KR. Like it is, I think that this season is going to deliver. The only shame is obviously the London Broncos. Hull FC have let you know, their fans down. I think, you know, Cass as well. Like it's exciting. It is an exciting season. We're only almost a third, I think. We're almost a third of the way through.
Yeah.
So yeah, last year was very memorable. That Perpignan, the game in Perpignan for me was the grand final. That was so exciting. I loved every minute of it. But yeah, great to see Wigan and Matty Pete win grand final. Like what Matty Pete's done at Wigan is outstanding, incredible. When he first got appointed, I remember doing a sit down with him at the start of 2022. What year are we in? He's been in charge for this is his 3rd year. So yeah, he, like, everyone was like, who is this guy? Where's he come from? Like, this is the worst appointment ever. And to see him, and he's somebody who I love interviewing. I love interviewing Matty Pete because he's so honest and he gives a great interview. Like, it's so insightful, and he's so humble, and he's a great person as well. I have a lot of time for Matty Pete. Anyway, completely off track. But yes, last season, amazing. This season, yes, it's going to get there too.
Yeah, it is. And do you know what? Absolutely. I think Matt Pete is a very special man. He comes across, I've never met him, but he comes across, for me, he's a great he's a great ambassador for everything that's good about our sport. He's very, very complimentary of teams when they lose. You know, he's not one of these coaches that it was about us not being great. He's very humble. He plays that part well. But there's clearly a steely determination around standards and what it means to play for Wigan Warriors that just resonates from him. He's an incredible guy. And then on the opposite end of the scale, I don't know if you've had a chance to interview him yet or not, but Mike Eccles is coming over as a really astute character. I'm really liking Mike Eccles.
Yeah, so I obviously live in London, and I was so excited when they got promoted. I'm like, yay, there might be, one game every now and then that I won't have to travel up north. But I haven't been at any of those games. I haven't been assigned to any of the London home games yet. In fact, I haven't covered London this season, believe it or not. Yet. I know I will eventually, but I haven't met him. Right. So I'm not sure. But and I have a lot of time for the London Broncos. David Hughes, their owner, I've got a great relationship with him. I want the best for London. I think it's really unfair, the situation that they're in. It's hard, they're kind of, they've got a huge, upward battle ahead of them this year. It's got to be so challenging to back up after, such significant defeats to then a week later do it again. But yeah, I do look forward to meeting him and interviewing him.
Yeah, I think, and that was always going to be the problem with the IMG piece this year. The Castleford obviously are clearly prioritising off-field and on-field. We've got a bit of that. But I do think that once you get to probably ninth position up, it's going to be a really competitive back end to the season from a playoff perspective. So we look forward to that. And hopefully you can tell me when you do meet Mike Eccles how impressive he actually is, because I think he's coming over brilliantly well. I love his press conferences on YouTube. I could listen to them on all day. Cracking fella. It's good times. Jenna, it's been an absolute privilege. We could have talked for a lot longer, but like I say, I know you're a busy lady. So hopefully maybe we get you back later down the track in the season or maybe next year. But Jenna Brooks, I think if nothing else, the rugby league community have learned far more during this interview about you than they can find out online, and that's a real positive. And they've heard it from the horse's mouth, which is even better. So thank you very much for gracing the Super League Raw community with your time. We wish you well for the rest of the season. We hope you get many more fans coming and saying hello. I know my daughter will when you come to the Halliwell Jones. And enjoy the rest of the season. Thanks very much, Jenna.
Thank you.